according to my clock. Good morning. Today is November 13th, 2014, and this is the meeting of the Texas Low-Level Radioactive Waste Disposal Compact Commission. My name is Brandon Hurley, and I have got the honor of filling the seat of a very important man who's sitting to my left now. I'm the new chairman of the commission, and I'm going to try to do things as much like Bob Wilson as I can, which I may not accomplish. We'll see. I see Commissioner Bradford, Commissioner O'Meara, Jane, Bob, and Clint, who we will introduce in a minute, the judge, and John, so I believe we have a quorum present. I wanted to introduce our newest commissioner, Clint Weber. Clint is a resident of Tarrant County just like me, so I'm happy to have a kindred spirit on the commission. I will let Clint introduce himself and give us a little bit about his background. Clint.
I thought it was going to be a little warmer down here. Thank you. My name is Clint Weber. I live in Fort Worth, Texas. I've been there for about a year. Recently have left the U.S. Marine Corps. I was a Marine aviator for 16 years and lived at quite a few different places. But I'm a graduate at Texas A&M University. I'm class of 1998, so please don't hold that against me. And I'm really looking forward to working with all of you here and serving the state of Texas in whatever capacity I can. And this is probably the most prepared I've ever been for a first meeting, and that's thanks to Lee and Audrey. Thank you both for getting me the information. Did a really nice job. So happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Clint, and welcome. The other thing I wanted to announce before I got to a very important announcement is John Salzman has been appointed vice chair for the sole reason that it was clear I could not handle things on my own. So I'm very glad that he will be vice chair moving forward, and it'll obviously take two of us to fill the role of the person I was about to recognize, and that's outgoing Chairman Wilson. Obviously, he is the glue that holds this together, and we are so appreciative that he agreed to stay on. It's my understanding that the motion for him to step down as chairman came from his wife, and it did not require a second or a vote. And so he has been very gracious and will continue to be an absolute vital part of this commission. Literally, the one thing I said to the governor's office when they called was, I won't do this unless Bob Wilson stays on, because he's that important. And luckily, after some cajoling and I think promises to his wife, he agreed to stay on. So we want to thank him, and there will be a discussion later on, I think, in Lee's report about something we're going to do afterwards to honor him a little bit further even. So with that, I'd also like to acknowledge any elected officials who are here today. It's my understanding Jeremy Dillon, if you'd raise your hand. He is here today from RAD Waste Monitor in D.C. I think I saw Carlos walk in from Representative Burnham's office. Is there any other elected officials here today? Any other members of the press besides Jeremy? Okay. Well, then we will move on. This is the item 4 in the agenda. It is the public comment period. If anyone would like to come forward, make a comment about any matter that they see fit to discuss here with the commission, now is the time. Carlos, is that your hand?
Yes, indeed. A very good morning, commissioners. And let me start off by congratulating our new chairman. Welcome.
Thank you.
Seems odd for me saying that. And I also like to welcome our newest commissioner, Mr. Weber. Welcome. I have some general remarks by Representative Lon Burnham that I will read out on his behalf. Dear Chairman Wilson and Commissioners, regrets that I cannot be with you in person this morning. I am on my way to Washington, D.C. to a conference meant to address the nationwide problems caused by the inappropriate handling of nuclear materials, as it so happens. Throughout the years, and in keeping with the principle of checks and balances in government, I, Representative Burnham, have strived to ensure that oversight never wanes and protective measures never falter. These should and must be the uncompromising goals of the Compact Commission as well as the TCEQ. The transportation and storage of radioactive waste demands it. For that reason, the trends that have unfolded over the past few years are unfortunate in my view, and my office has often raised concerns to both agencies. 3 guiding principles have guided my office during these years, and I would like to pass them on. The first, always optimize. Continuously strive to optimize the safety of disposal by keeping track of details about imported waste's contents, isotopes, and radioactivity. It is counterproductive to change import or export forms to eliminate the need to include certain data. Data unneeded today may become important tomorrow. Second, just say no. Say no to an import application once in a while when deemed necessary. Show a willingness to say no, or at least not yet, to proposals that would push the regulatory envelope to benefit economic interests. This comes at the expense of the general public's health and safety. Urge the closing of the loophole allowing generators to send reclassified low-level radioactive waste to the RCRA facility at WCS, since this denies the state of Texas of fees and the Compact Commission of its oversight. Third, be the protagonist. Be proactive in fulfilling your duties. The current passive approach has allowed its oversight capabilities and authority to shrink. As commissioners, you can both trust the TCEQ to do its job and still actively engage in evaluating and questioning business practices by brokers, generators, and waste control specialists itself. In conclusion, optimize, say no, be the protagonist. This Compact Commission still has potential. Thank you very much for listening. Best regards.
Thank you, Carlos.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Could we get a copy of those comments?
Absolutely, I have one myself.
If you could provide them to Ms. Ng, that would be great.
Of course.
Please express to Representative Burnham that we appreciate the comments.
Thank you very much. I know he'll be glad to hear that.
Any other public comment? Going once, going twice. Then we'll move on to item number 5, which is a discussion of the revisions of our rules. The Rules Committee did meet last night, and as I was telling Commissioner Wilson, it was very productive, and I think we have identified where we need to do more work. So with that, I will turn it over to Commissioner Morris to let her make some comments.
Okay, thank you. The Rules Committee consists of Chairman Hurley and Chairman Salzman, Commissioner Salzman, and Commissioner Saudick. And last night we were pleased to have Commissioner Bradford sit in with us. So we did meet last night to discuss, see where we were and what progress what else we need to do to move forward on these rules. We do appreciate every party that sent in comments for our consideration. We are seriously considering adopting many of the comments that have been submitted. Where we are right now, last night we identified some additional gaps in knowledge that we need to address. So do expect, some of you need to expect some phone calls from us or some visits from us so that we can fill in, get the information we need to kind of finish up this process. Our intent is to submit the proposed working rule draft of the rules at the December 17th meeting. We do have to conduct some more due diligence sort of things and stuff to make sure that we are on the right path, and I think we are. So that's kind of the plan right now. So we're moving forward on that and hope to have something available for the entire commission to look at the December 17th meeting. Do any of the other committee members wish to say something or add something to that?
Just one point of clarification for our discussion last night. Commissioner Saudick was not present.
No,
so
he was not.
Mr.
Mr. Bradford sat in representing Mr. Saudick last night.
And I would only add that the December date is our goal, but there are some unknowns out there that we're going to probably try to make known in the next couple of weeks. So that will, I think, largely dictate what we're able to present at the December meeting and how complete they will be. So we hope things go smoothly, and if they do, I think the December date is viable. Thank you. With that, we'll move on to item 6 on the agenda. Consider of and possible action on each of the following requests for amendments to agreements for importation of low-level radioactive waste, and we will start with 6A, which is Exelon. And I will turn it over to Vice Chairman Salzman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The technical committee received an actually a request to modify or amend their import agreement from Exelon. That agreement is 1-0064-01, and the letter was signed September 2nd, 2014, and actually received by the Commission the same date. In that amendment request, Exelon has asked for one change, and that is that the large components be added to the waste description. There was no change to curies, volume, individual radioisotopes, waste form, or waste classification. With that change, I don't see it as a problem, and in fact, I believe TCEQ did not see it as a matter that they had to review as well. So, Technical Committee recommends approval of that amendment request.
Any questions, Mr. Salzman? Then I think we're ready for a motion.
I make a motion that we approve the amendment request and add large components to the waste description for Exelon. And that is 1-0064-01.
I'll second.
I heard a motion and a very husky second. Any further discussion? Then I will call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstaining? Please show that you're not voting, and I believe that one passes. I got my first one down. We'll move on now to item 6B, Florida Power and Light Turkey Point Nuclear Plant. Vice Chairman Salzman.
The Technical Committee has reviewed an amendment request from Florida Power and Light Turkey Point Nuclear Plant. That's 1-0072-01. And in that amendment request, Turkey Point is asked to increase their volume by 325 cubic feet, increase their total radioactivity by 300 curies, increase the carbon-14 by 2,735 millicuries, and increase the technetium-99 by 13,990.35 microcuries. In their amendment request, they've indicated that they've made a commitment to reduce their waste backlog by the end of the year, and this additional volume and radioactivity would allow them the ability to do that. The Technical Committee recommends approval of this amendment request.
John, I might have misunderstood you. Could you read the number again, the commission number?
I believe, unless I'm sorry, maybe that is 1-0072-02.
Okay, that's what I thought. Any questions on item 6B?
John, does it say who they made the commitment to?
No. I would assume their management, but I don't know, or perhaps the regulator within the state of Florida, but it does not indicate the letter.
Any other questions? Then I think we're ready for a motion.
I make a motion that we approve the amendment request from Florida Power and Light Turkey Point Nuclear Plant. That's 1-0072-02 to increase their radioactivity by 300 curies, increase the volume by 325 cubic feet, increase the carbon-14 by 2,735 millicuries, and increase the technetium-99 by 13,990.35 microcuries.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Then we will call for a vote. All in favor of the motion concerning Florida Power and Light and their amendment requests, please indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Please show the chair not voting, and that one passes as well. We will now move to 6C, Phylotechnics.
The technical committee received and reviewed an import amendment from Phylotechnics Limited. That document was signed October 22nd, 2014, received by the commission on the same date. And in that amendment request, Phylotechnics has requested the addition of 25 millicuries of carbon-14, 50 microcuries of technetium-99, 495,000 nanocuries of I-129, and 4,990 microcuries of depleted uranium. Their amendment request does not ask for any additional volume or any change in the overall total radioactivity. It's merely adding some individual radionuclides. The technical committee recommends approval of this amendment request. Oh, yes, and I'm happy to answer questions.
Any questions?
Sorry.
Just one question, John. I take it that we used to keep track of these particular radioisotopes because of limitations in the license, and my understanding is those have sort of gone away, so we don't have to do that anymore. Is that correct?
I believe that is correct, and that's one of the, I think that's one of the issues that's being looked at in the rules revision. But until we change that, my thought was we should continue to track those items.
Very good. Thank you.
Any additional? Yes, ma'am.
And this is, again, waste from 33 different states?
I believe that that is correct. I'm not sure it's actually 33. I haven't really tried to count them, but it is a long list. If you'd like, I can absolutely provide that. I have it, but
No, it's on here.
it's a very long
Yeah.
long list of states. And surprisingly enough, when they submitted their original application, they actually included Texas and Vermont, which was sort of curious because you don't need an import permit for our waste. But
Any other questions? Then I think we're ready for a motion.
I make a motion that we approve the amendment request 1-0069-01 from Phylotechnics Limited to add 25 millicuries of C14, 50 microcuries of technetium-99, 495,000 nanocuries of I-129, and 4,990 microcuries of depleted uranium.
Is there a second?
Second.
Hearing a motion and a second, is there any discussion? Any other comment? All right, then we will have a vote on the application for amendment from Phylotechnics, which is item 6C, since there's also a 6D from there. All in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Please show the chair not voting, and that motion passes as well. We'll move on to 6D, which is also Phylotechnics.
The technical committee received and reviewed an application for amendment of their import permit from Phylotechnics Limited. That's 1-0070-01. That was signed October 22nd, received on the same date by the commission. And in this amendment request, Phylotechnics has asked to add 5 states to their list of authorized states, which is Colorado, Arizona, Nevada, New Mexico, and Connecticut. In this case, get this right, those states represent the compacts, the Southwestern Compact, the Rocky Mountain Compact, and the Atlantic Compact. And both the Southwestern and the Rocky Mountain Compact require export authorization. So the amendment request did not provide the specific export authorization. So if we chose to approve this, that would be something that they'd have to provide before they were allowed to ship those materials. The technical committee recommends approval of this, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
Then we're up to 38 states.
Actually, this is a separate import
Agreement.
Agreement, right,
Yes.
I understand that.
And I guess it is.
From the same.
Right.
Yeah.
You're right.
So it is 5, and we have been clear about saying we need to know in advance whether the export has been given, the export permission has been given from the southeast, what is it, the southwestern?
In this case, Southwestern and Central. And what I believe what we've done, past practice, is those export authorizations are provided to the commission in advance of the shipments. They just don't do it when they ask for the amendment request. I suspect in part it's because they are still negotiating perhaps with individual generators for the disposal, the right to handle and dispose of that material. And so they're perhaps in their negotiations, the company says, we'll get an import permit and then we'll sign on the dotted line. Mm-hmm. But I believe in all cases, the generators of those materials have provided those export permits prior to the shipment.
Yeah, I'm just a broken record here that Vermont gets 20% of the capacity that Texas uses, and now we have 38 other states. We just keep on having every other state in the union exporting to WCS, which I know you're happy with, but just to be protective. I know we're nowhere near capacity, and I read the reports that we get every month, so it's not a problem now, but I will reserve the right to object as time goes on if it just keeps on having it be that the other states are doing it, Texas isn't, and Vermont will need the space as time goes on. Enough said. Thanks.
Any other questions or comments?
I do have a question, and John, I'm not sure whether you or Lee needs to answer this, but one of the states is a member of the Atlantic Compact.
Yes.
And the Atlantic Compact state members do have access to a low-level waste site.
They do have access to the Barnwell facility. I don't know about this specific waste, if there's some prohibition on it or not, but I know in general that is absolutely correct.
And I was just curious whether we have a requirement or with the Atlantic, what is our agreement with the Atlantic Compact about taking waste that would normally go to the Atlantic Compact disposal site?
And I've talked to Max Batavia, who's the executive director of the Atlantic Compact, and they say if a generator would like to export through a broker, they have no problem with it. They don't have an issue about viability with their site like the Northwest Compact does. So the fact that waste would leave, it does not represent a problem for them. And sometimes what happens in talking to phylotechnics about why they would be shipping from a compact that already has space, just as the Rocky Mountain Compact does. At times when they put together a number of sources in one drum, the idea that a few of the sources would be from a compact, it just saves money to put it in a drum that's already going to be shipped instead of have a separate container so it could go to Barnwell or to the facility in Washington. And so I'm not sure if that's the case here, but that is generally what brokers will sometimes do.
And I understand the packaging problem. I was just curious about the relationships between Texas Compact and the Atlantic Compact.
Yeah, the Atlantic Compact does not have a problem with it. Now, that would not be the same for the Northwest, but the Atlantic Compact feels their site's viable nonetheless.
I am truly aware of the problems with the Northwest Compact. All right, thank you. That's all the questions I had.
I've got a question. I'm sorry.
Sure.
I think it's on. Ms. Singh, if you can show this to me later, then you're probably going to do that. But do we have a process for? I mean, obviously we have an event horizon or a time that we're supposed to be disposing of all this waste. And are we keeping track of that? The rates at which we are compiling the curies, and then so we have an idea about whether we can or can't, meet the requirements. At
Oh,
the
we
current rate?
so have that process, and the vice chair is who actually keeps up with it, and we could tell you about that
Yeah,
to the molecular level.
I'm sure we can talk about that later.
And that will be probably part of the report that we get from WCS today too, on volumes that have been.
We do. We get as a matter of fact, we get a report every month of everything. Usually the first few days of the month, WCS gives it to us very quickly about everything that has been disposed of to date in that facility, out of compact, in compact, and so forth. And so they keep us up to date. We also get numbers that are quality assurance checked from the TCEQ that we put on our website quarterly to back that up.
Any other questions? And I think we're ready for a motion.
I make a motion that we approve the amendment request from Tllrwdcc Limited, that's 1-0070-01, to add the states of Colorado, Arizona, Nevada, New Mexico, and Connecticut, with the stipulation that prior to shipment, those states that are part of the Southwestern and part of the Central Compact have to provide export authorizations to the Commission.
Is it Central or Rocky Mountain?
Central and, I'm sorry, my mistake, Southwestern and Rocky Mountain Compact, not the Central Compact. My apologies.
A motion has been made. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, we will call for a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Please show that you're not voting, and item 6D passes. Item 6E, Thomas Gray and Associates.
The technical committee received and reviewed an import permit amendment request from Thomas Gray and Associates, Environmental Management and Controls. Hereafter, I'll refer to them as Thomas Gray. That amendment request is 1-0063-01, and it was actually dated September 26, 2014, received by the Commission October 1, 2014. In that amendment request, Thomas Gray is asked to increase the I-129 by 50,000 nanocuries. And that's there were no other changes to volume, overall volume, total radioactivity, or any other radioisotopes or waste classification. The technical committee recommends approval of this, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Then I think we're ready for a motion.
I make a motion that we approve the amendment request from Thomas Gray. That's 1-0063-01 to add 50,000 nanocuries of I-129 to their import agreement.
Having a motion, is there a second? Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing no need for discussion, I'll call for a vote. All in favor of item 6E, the amendment application of Thomas Gray and Associates, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Please show that you're not voting, and item 6E passes. Now on to 6F, Excel. And John, do you want to do F and G together?
Yes.
So item 6F and 6G.
The technical committee has received and reviewed actually two amendment requests from Excel Energy. Monticello for the same import agreement. That original import agreement is currently numbered 1-0045-01, and so we have received an amendment request, which is 1-0045-02 and 1-0045-03. Those were received by the Commission on October 8th and October 23rd, respectively. Together, those two amendment requests have asked to add Class A unstable waste to the waste form and waste classification, and they've requested to add 63,000 microcuries of technetium-99, and they would like to extend the agreement expiration date from December 31, 2014 to January 31, 2015, in essence 1 month, to allow them to ship some waste to the site. I would note that those changes were, the requests were both reviewed and approved by TCEQ as well, in letters dated November 5, 2014. The Technical Committee recommends approval of these amendment requests, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Hearing none, I think we're ready for a motion.
I make a motion that we approve the amendment requests 1-0045-02 and 1-0045-03 from Excel Energy Monticello to add Class A unstable waste, 63,000 microcuries of technetium-99, and to extend the agreement expiration date to January 31, 2015.
There's a motion. Is there a second? Second. Having a motion and a second, is there any discussion? And I would note for the record, the change in the dates are all within our fiscal year, so it's not a leap of fiscal years with the date request. Any further questions or discussion?
John, unstable means?
I suspect it's probably Class A DAW, probably, but WCS may be able to speak definitively to that issue.
Morning. Sherry
morning.
Frenette, WCS. Unstable in this instance means physical. Class B and C waste needs to be stable according to the NRC regs for disposal. That's a physical stability, not a chemical stability. So it's not reactive. Does that help?
In part, but so the instability, physical instability means what?
It means over time it could deteriorate. So when we at WCS place waste in our concrete canisters, it renders it stable so that it doesn't collapse over time. Okay.
Any other discussion? Then we will call for a vote. All in favor of the two amendment requests from Excel Energy,
No. Yes.
which are items 6F and 6G, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Please show the chair not voting, and items 6F and 6G are passed. We will now move on to item 7, which is the continuation of John's portion of the program. Consideration of possible action on applications for import agreements. 7A is RAM services.
The Technical Committee received and reviewed import application from RAM Services Incorporated, was signed August 18th, 2014, received by the Commission September 2nd, 2014. That's 1-0077-00. In that application, RAM Services is a broker who is a licensed waste processor and collector, and they're requesting authorization to dispose of materials in accordance with the Act. The materials that they've requested importation for are Class B and Class C stable sealed sources, and that import or disposal was authorized for the facility operator by TCEQ in a letter dated September 5th, 2014. In their application, they have indicated that, or they are requesting a volume of 30 cubic feet, that's 30, and radioactivity of 45 curies. They're not requesting disposal of any of the specific radionuclides. The materials are coming from the state of Louisiana, which is part of the Central Compact. And in this case, the applicant has provided the export authorization as well as authorization from the generator to handle the materials. So there's nothing that the commission would need to receive in the future with regard to shipments. The applicant has indicated they have no unresolved issues with the commission and no unresolved violations with the commission or with any other regulatory agencies. The applicant has also indicated that they'd request that the material be considered under our small quantity generator set aside, and based upon the volume and curies, technical committee agrees with that. Committee is not aware that the applicant has access to another disposal facility for the materials. And the applicant has requested an import agreement period from October 1, 2014 through October 31, 2015. So I would note that that request would carry the import agreement past the end of the current fiscal year. And I'm happy to answer questions about this.
If I may, I'll add one mundane detail to this. The export authorization from the Central Compact expires June 30th, 2015, and they are requesting through October 2015. So for those few months, to the extent this would be approved, we would have a condition, we would be happy to put a condition into this agreement that would specify.
From June until the end of whatever we decide
Yes.
the expiration of the permit would be, they would have to, if they're going to make shipments after June, then they would have to provide additional export authorization from the Central Compact.
Any other questions?
It's not a question, but just a comment. I'm actually not in favor of extending these or authorizing these agreements past the end of the fiscal year. I think it makes for confusion in the accounting of the curies and the volume and everything else.
John, I understand that. Is this related to a shipping schedule, or do you have any idea at this point?
Unknown.
Cask availability, anything like that?
I suspect it's not cask availability. It's possible, but with the relatively small volume and curies,
Right.
it's probably not a cask availability issue.
So we just don't have any information about why they wanted it extended?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Or why they've asked for that particular period.
All right.
Jane?
Reach this here.
I'm just wondering on the first page of the application, the note number 2. I don't usually see that, and how does that impact here in terms of the Department of Defense regulation? Does that impact?
In this case,
see it
I don't.
anywhere
In
else.
this, actually, I think that appears on the actual.
It's on our form.
Annex A
It is on the
form, so they didn't add that. In this case, I don't think there's any intent for the material to be associated with the Department of Defense.
Okay, so the Annex A form has it, nobody else, okay. It didn't look like it did, but I wanted to ask.
That may be another thing that changes when we revise the rule.
Any other questions? Then I think we are ready for a motion.
I make a motion that we approve the import agreement application from Ram Services Incorporated. That's 1-0077-00, signed August 18th, 2014, received September 2nd, 2014. The place of origination of the waste is Louisiana. The waste description is sealed sources. The waste classification is Class B and Class C. The waste form is stable. The volume is 30 cubic feet. The curies are 45. And my motion is that the agreement will expire August 31, 2015. And I would note that any materials shipped after June, the applicant will need to provide additional export authorization from the Central Compact.
Motion has been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we will call for a vote. All in favor of Vice Chairman Salzman's motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay. Any abstentions? Please note the chair is not voting, and item 7A passes. On to item 7B, the application of Pacific Gas and Electric Company Diablo Canyon Power Plant.
The technical committee received and has reviewed an import application from Pacific Gas and Electric Company Diablo Canyon Power Plant, hereinafter PG&E. That application was signed September 12, 2014, received by the Commission October 1, 2014, as numbers 1-0078-00. And in this case, PG&E is acting as a generator requesting authorization to dispose of non-party low-level waste in accordance with the Act. The material that they are requesting for disposal is Class B and Class C stable polymer polymer solidified resin and cement encapsulated cartridge filters. And I would note that those materials were authorized for disposal by the compact facility operator by TCQ in a letter dated November 5, 2014. They've specifically requested a volume of 280 cubic feet, a total radioactivity of 177 curies, which includes 4,063 millicuries of C14, 17 microcuries of technetium-99, and 150 nanocuries of I-129. The material is coming from the state of California, which is part of the Southwestern Compact, and to date, the applicant has not provided export authorization, so that would still be required. The applicant has indicated they have no unresolved violations with the Commission or with any other regulatory agencies associated with radioactive material, and they have no unresolved issues with the Commission. I would note that the Commission is not aware that the applicant has access to another waste disposal facility, and in this case, the applicant has requested an import agreement for 12 months from a period starting January 1, 2015 through December 31, 2015. So I'll also note that that goes beyond the end of our fiscal year. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Salzman? Then I guess we're ready for a motion.
I make a motion that we approve the application from Pacific Gas and Electric Company Diablo Canyon Power Plant That's 1-0078-00. The state of origination of the waste is California. The waste description is polymer sulfide, pardon me, polymer, solidified resin, and cement encapsulated cartridge filters. The waste classification is Class B and Class C. The waste form is stable. The application was signed September 12, 2014, received by the Commission October 1, 2014. The volume is 280 cubic feet. Curies are 177, including 4,063 millicuries of C14, 17 microcuries of technetium-99, and 115 nanocuries of I-129. And I recommend that the agreement be for a period of January 1, 2015 through August 31, 2015.
John, would you also include in your motion that it would be subject to?
And the materials are subject to, prior to shipment, to provision of the Commission with an signed export authorization from the Southwestern Compact. Thank you.
There's a motion. Is there a second? Second. Motion and a second. Is there any discussion? And we will call for a vote. All in favor of Vice Chairman Salzman's motion indicate related to Pacific Gas and Electric Company, the import application for item 7B, please indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Any abstentions? Please show the chair not voting, and item 7B passes. John, do you want to labor on, or do you want to break right now?
I could use some water.
And we are on to item 7C, which is an import application from Tllrwdcc.
Thank you. The Technical Committee has received and reviewed an import application from Tllrwdcc Limited. That application was signed September 30, 2014, received by the Commission October 1, 2014, and its number is 1-0079-00. In this case, Tllrwdcc is a broker who is a licensed waste processor and collector requesting authorization to dispose of non-party low-level waste in accordance with the Act. Specifically, they have requested the ability to dispose of Class A unstable depleted uranium F4. I apologize, I cannot remember the proper chemical name for that. That would be tetrafluoride. I always want to say hexafluoride, but that's a different material. In this case, it's referred to as green salt, and that material was authorized for disposal by the compact facility operator by TCEQ in a letter dated November 5, 2014. They have specifically requested a volume of 400 cubic feet and a total radioactivity of 5 curies, including 5 times 10 to the 6th, or 5 million microcuries of depleted uranium. The material is coming from the state of Oklahoma, which is part of the Central Compact, and so it will require export authorization, and I believe to date they have not provided that export authorization. Is that correct, Lee?
That's correct.
The applicant has indicated they have no unresolved issues with the Commission or with any other regulatory agency. And I would note that we do not believe actually, I have to admit I'm unsure whether this material could actually be disposed of elsewhere than the compact waste facility. The applicant has requested that the import agreement be through August 31, 2016, and in addition, the applicant has requested that the waste be considered under a small quantity generator set aside. And my opinion is that the volume and curies are probably, or at least the volume is probably greater than we typically would put towards a small generator set aside. So my suggestion is that we consider it under a regular large quantity generator. And Lee, did you have any, or was there any additional information? I know there was some correspondence on this one with regard to the actual chemical form of the waste.
The information that Phyllotechnics provided to answer some of those inquiries is all that we have, is what you've seen so far. There's been no additional information that's been requested or provided.
That correspondence, there was a question about whether the material was, I believe, chemically reactive or not, and the applicant has basically provided, I think it was an email to indicate that the material was not reactive and that I think there would be testing to ensure that fact.
Mm-hmm. And we also had discussions with the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality on that point to ensure that the state agency was also satisfied with the information that was provided.
What I'm talking about is chemically reactive as well. So I'm happy to answer any additional questions about this one.
I had one, John. The duration is to August 31st, 2016?
I believe that is what they requested.
Okay. Which would be?
And yes, that's correct. August 31, 2016. So that would be
A year plus.
A year, basically 2 years. That's correct.
Any other questions? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we approve the import request from Phyllotechnics Limited. That's 1-0079-00. Signed September 30, 2014. Received by the Commission October 1, 2014. The place, state of origination of the materials is Oklahoma. The waste description is depleted uranium tetrafluoride, better known as green salt. The waste classification is Class A. The waste form is unstable. The total volume is 400 cubic feet. The radioactivity is 5 curies, including 5 million microcuries of uranium-238. And with the duration of that agreement ending August 31, 2015, and I would note that the applicant will need to provide an export authorization from the Central Compact prior to any shipment of the materials.
And that'll be considered under a large generator?
That's correct, and that's where in our spreadsheet tracking the volume and curies of materials, I've included as a large quantity generator.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Then we will call for a vote. All in favor of the import application of Phyllotechnics under item 7C, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Any abstentions? Please show the chair not voting, and item 7C passed. There's a reason that Commissioner Wilson sitting next to me, he just notified me that Ms. Haddon walked in and she moved to the front. So I wanted to give her an opportunity, and maybe John an opportunity, to rest his voice for a moment. And we will reopen item 4 if there's any public comment.
Just brief.
Good morning.
Thank you. I appreciate you calling for public comment, and welcome, and thank you, Bob Wilson, for your service as chairman. I know you put in a lot of hours and hard work. Just a quick comment on this one, that it's hard as a citizen right now on these particular items to know exactly which one is pulling up on the agenda. I did not see, at least on the mobile version of the website, a complete agenda. There were some items listed on the home page, and then the items listed for Phyllotechnics on the home page were
different item numbers. They were the amendments. So it's hard to know just off of the chart which ones are being pulled up for this meeting. So I'm just asking for a little bit of help on that, maybe to publicize the complete agenda on the homepage or something. And maybe I'm just missing a link, but it's not readily available, and I wanted you to know about that. I was struggling to find where these particular items were in the import list. So
And you're referencing the mobile site that you're on right now, not?
this is off of, yes. Thank you.
We will look into that.
I appreciate it.
John, I know you wish Karen would have spoken a little bit longer so you could have rested your voice, but unfortunately she didn't. So, item 7D, Tennessee Valley Authority.
Seeing as we're down to the last item, I'll try to make it through. The technical committee received and has reviewed an import application from Tennessee Valley Authority. It was signed September 30, 2014, received by the commission October 1, 2014. That's 1-0080-00. In this case, TVA is acting as a generator requesting authorization to dispose of non-party low-level waste in accordance with the Act. Specifically, they've requested the disposal of Class A, Class B, and Class C stable, dewatered bead and/or Powdex resin, sealed sources and check sources, filters, and compactable and non-compactable trash. And that material was authorized for disposal by the compact facility operator by TCQ in a letter dated November 5, 2014. In this case, TVA is specifically requesting a volume of 3,500 cubic feet, 5,000 curies, including 25 millicuries of C14, 86,000 microcuries of technetium-99, and 115,000 nanocuries of I-129. Their application indicates they have no unresolved violations with the Commission or with other regulatory agencies associated with radioactive material, and they have no unresolved issues with the Commission. In this case, the material would be coming from the states of Alabama and Tennessee, which are part of the Southeast Compact and do not require export authorization. The Commission is not aware that the applicant has access to another waste disposal facility, and the applicant has requested an import agreement for 9 months from a period of December 1, 2014 through September 30, 2015, so 1 month beyond the end of the fiscal year. And the Commission, or the Technical Committee recommends approval of this, and I'd be happy to answer questions.
Any questions? John, are the date anomalies, do they have something to do with everyone else's fiscal year?
Well, the federal government's fiscal year ends September 30. I'm not certain if the TVA fiscal year coincides with the federal government. It could. It's sort of quasi-federal agency, federal entity. Perhaps Mr. Wood could speak to that issue.
Is it like a post office?
Good morning.
Good morning, Brian Wood from TVA. The reason why we actually asked for an additional month was due to a shipping cask issue, not an actual, fiscal year issue. We can go ahead and, if it just goes to August or till September, we can submit it under another one next year. It's not a big deal for us. We just, for shipping cask purposes, we've projected our schedule out, and we know that based on shipping cask availability, we needed to add another month.
That's helpful, and I would note I don't believe the Commission is opposed to receiving applications for future years of export. So the TVA would perfectly capable of submitting an additional application for the Texas fiscal year 2016 or 2017 or whatever. So.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? Then I believe we're ready for a motion.
I make a motion that we approve the import agreement from Tennessee Valley Authority That number is 1-0080-00, was received September 30, 2014. I'm sorry, signed September 30, 2014, and received by the Commission October 1, 2014. States of origination of the materials are Alabama and Tennessee. The waste description is dewatered bead and/or Powdex resin. Source is sealed and checked, filters, and compactable and non-compactable trash. The waste classification is Class A, Class B, and Class C, and the waste form is stable. The volume is 3,500 cubic feet. The total curies are 5,000, including 25 millicuries of C14, 86,000 microcuries of technetium-99, and 115,000 nanocuries of I-129. And I recommend that agreement be from December 1, 2014 through August 31, 2015.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? With a motion and a second, I will open it up for discussion. Hearing none, I will call for a vote. All those in favor of the approval of the Tennessee Valley Authority import application in item 7D, please indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Any abstentions? Please show the chair not voting, and item 7D passes. We've been going about an hour, so I think now is a good time for a break. Everybody wants to be back by 10:45. We will do our dead level best to be done by noon so we can get on to more important things like cake. So we will reconvene at 10:45.
What's your real name?
Let's just say,
I mean,
September 1st of this year, I started with
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't know if you heard, one thing we discussed, that we love to coordinate with CRCP to get some questionnaire and ask them about. And also at the same time,
Oh, no, okay, understood. Yeah, absolutely. You and Ronnie are over there.
Are they meeting?
I know. I'm gonna say.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Otherwise,
I've got some paper I need to get through. For the board. Oh, God. I know.
Is that called? It's red desk.
So I'll be able to, when I work on it, we're gonna oh yeah, we're gonna have to
I'll report back. I'm gonna go
anyway, before the group have a lot of suggestions for this and that. Education licenses. Already know.
You're one of the ones that
Okay. So we'd like to If necessary, try to squeeze some funding out of it, so.
Well, I mean, fortunately, that's what well, unfortunately, sort of trying to get money.
So anyway, I should have the green light again this spring. So like I said, I'd like that. Never did get it, and maybe I just haven't found it.
Yeah. So,
Never did get it.
take one thing I've asked the group to do is kind of look at, see what it is that we're going to ask for. Because we have.
You're talking about sort of an outreach
for you guys, something like that comes in, they have to poke it or whatever.
So, yeah, we're going to get an idea of the scope.
Okay. I found 10 days ago this card in my bag, and then I picked up the pieces and remembered that you said about the radiator. So I had to
Makes no sense to me.
pass that on to Abby. She could give it to Christina. Thank you. How old is your radiator?
20 plus.
Okay, very good.
Probably is. I haven't looked at the characterization.
No, that's good. That's good. So it's you're going to want to sort of transition out of it here.
You know, they're definitely looking at possibilities, and the building of the new medical school, they're talking about needing that capability there. And so if we, perhaps move to electronic devices.
Sure. Well, and the reason I asked about age is that they did a cost-benefit analysis to see at what age those sorts of transitions seem to be sort of money winners for the NRC as opposed to sort of getting rid of a radiator that you're still working off fixed costs, but there's marginal costs or whatever. And so, in any case, 20 years is about that time frame. So it'll be interesting to see what.
I mean, obviously, our research is exactly, but
Good.
I think it's at least 20 years old.
That'll be interesting.
If I do get 2 or 3 tomorrow,
You have to ask Scott.
Lots, just lots.
Yeah, it doesn't decay very quickly.
No, it's not even half.
I'm sorry.
yeah,
No, I don't want it.
They don't
I didn't mean for it to stick.
Cells or things like that, but also they do a fair number of small. I know that's one of the things. One of the issues we have in the research is being able to get a uniform dose on a, not cells or blood, but on a creature that's a little bit bigger. So
yeah.
Anyway,
no technical challenge.
Rare, medium, and well done.
Right.
Works for us.
They get picky. They get picky about that. Right. Exactly.
So we're interested.
No, that's good. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Ray, he got Texas, Texas license. He's first.
Oh, good.
It's almost immediate reaction. We've got about 5 or 6 facilities easily within the last couple of weeks.
maybe Dave has.
So I think Texas is going to do a good show.
We had good arguments about why that's understood, but in practice it's more challenging to they're just normal. But then when I requested that
I'll give you a list of concerns.
Yeah.
But largely, when you look at the list, you can almost eliminate 50% of the list.
Just to be different from what you're
Usually off the bat, because they're weak. They're not capable. They don't have the infrastructure. Independent, because it's a lot of contracting, and it's a lot of time spent on things other than elected.
Yeah, it jacks up the.
Yeah, and plus the accountability, accounting for all of those different operations going on. at the same time. But, I mean, counting for one is a nightmare.
I had 6 days on 17 more. You and I talked about it. I got asked about it. I don't know about that.
Big deal. Yeah. What's that mean for you?
Well, yeah, Rick was talking about just multiple uses, including some with scatter, which would be, of course, just that. That's only that would be paid for by the scatter. We have to hire her. Yeah. She's been talking about so I don't know if y'all have been talking to her. She did bring it up. But yeah, and I'm going back to something I heard from Larry McNamara as well. He said when you do something like this, he said you don't try to contract with everybody. Contract with one person. He starts everybody else. He does that. He does
Federal level are always right? And now this is a federal level ballgame, but we don't have any. You need to be ready to sort of.
Well, I've got a justification if you want to see it.
And that
I had a hand in shaping the policy.
I didn't.
Yeah, well, again, you're looking for something to
well, the problem
Well, you do, but I mean, baby, I was that hard. I see it.
No,
I mean, you know, you can. I'll tell you, start worrying about things that really don't count.
Yeah. I mean, it's just.
But again, I think you know,
and I expect that's a part of it. I'm trying to get Richard involved in some of these things.
And so, it's not going to ever be a problem.
You know,
hard. So I can never not enact a policy that would force
and so
well, it's not. Yeah, well, you're not involved at this level as I
clearly shows there's not enough margin, but now you're letting them bring more in. So we try to really plot about that and not then force agencies to allow them to actually do their job in their jurisdiction.
There's more sources that are in the database.
So who bears the
right? Yeah, it's working and it's working good. And you've been sitting here for the last 5 years. It's not even and all of a sudden
so really, I'm just codified in terms
everybody works with and in some of them, what frankly, they just ask way And a number of them brokering is not their primary mode of income. And in fact, what they do is if they get a collection job, they'll farm it out to somebody that does collections. And then there'll be a middleman that pays extra money to do that.
So, I mean, it makes sense. He's got, they're his people, and he's got all the technical below him.
Making money. It's part of their reason. So I issued a request for bids to the EMC, Chase, and about 5 or 6 other facilities. And EMC, I called EMC to select. At that time, they were also told me Chase for them, and then they would just whatever they wanted to tack on. So, I mean, that kind of stuff goes on. Because right every case that we
if you meet all these, you have to do it. So that's just Richard himself is not going to be there. Yeah.
Now, you know, I'm hearing some good.
It's a dime. I think it's just going to pop back up on the radar because I know it's like oh my god, and started making phone calls. Whereas, you know, it's not like they have been engaged all summer working on the draft or anything like that. That's it's not our issue. They were like, I mean, if I were to sell here, I would have a totally different perspective. I don't. Like, I'm on the so as far as I'm concerned, just like any other rule, as far as I'm concerned, we'll be there, we'll be supportive, but I'm not going to work for the commission. But I know they're upstairs yesterday visiting with us. I don't know what they're trying to do.
Cost plus
we don't want to create a monopoly. We didn't want to create a monopoly. I think that was the right thing to do. This is why I say you have to vote. It's there's only one company in the whole country that can actually volunteer these prices. We didn't think that was fair. And so we
that's a lot of,
that, you know, lobbyists kept coming in.
Right now, I'm just trying to get,
you know, we put the caveat there. It says something like, there must be more than one entity, unaffiliated entity or something, so that
John's got maybe,
you must go do this. Oh, there's only one company, so you can charge you whatever. It's legitimate. So that's what we were trying to do.
So ideally, they all go.
But they are not constrained to allow to require 3 days.
As long as there's a process out there, you should have to do it. Because
got another grant at WCS
creating all of this static they're just mirrors. They just have to work and feedback. In my experience. So that's good. But it's more helpful. And I don't know how
Paul never called me after email me. Paul works for John, he said he's QA manager for that.
but
He does mainly
that's what we on there, and that's what we're back.
He called me up and said,
If WC's operating, it doesn't bother me, to be frank, but it's in statute, it is what it
so where did that come from? And he says, I'm just a mushroom, I don't know anything, I don't know about underwater mushrooms. Who said that? Where did that come from? And he said, he wrote it off. He said, John. And I said, okay, if John says it, then that's it, isn't it? Why are you asking me? Right. Answer your question. We'll follow up. I've gotten at least six people on board right now. I know that Doug Johnson Scott White. Another guy who's an affiliated facility. He's also so both those guys are just out there still. But I'm getting them to we're in a little place in Borden, so it's moving along pretty well. We've got
Thank you all for coming back. We will get started again. We are now on item 8, which is petitions for exportation of low-level radioactive waste. And we'll start with 8A, which is bionomics. And I will turn it again over to Vice Chairman Saltzman.
I think my voice has recovered. The first export application or request that we received was from Bionomics on behalf of Peloton Therapeutics, which is located in Dallas, Texas. In this case, they're requesting the ability to ship materials to the Energy Solutions facility in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, and those materials would be incinerated, and then any ash that was left over would be buried at the facility in Clive. They've noted that the approximate amount is 200 pounds of dry active waste. They've requested an effective period of 1 year for the export permit, and they've also noted appropriately that once the materials are incinerated, in that process they become commingled with other materials that are being incinerated, so it's probably impossible to separate their ash from an out-of-compact generator's ash, which would be a problem in terms of commingling to bring that material back into to the WCS facility for disposal.
And I'll note that on all of these export applications, WCS has commented by letter that they are in favor of all of them. So
that's correct.
So is there any other questions on item 8A, the Bionomics application for exportation?
I get on the record why WCS has put that letter in the file. Could you talk to that, Roger? You can do it on all three.
Sure. Rod Balzer, WCS. As you, I'm sure, recall, for the export of this waste, it's the low Class A waste. We have not been able to go to these STP, Vermont Yankee, and STP, did I miss one? Comanche Peak and Vermont Yankee, the Texas Compact Nuclear Power Plants, and offer them part of our exempt offering that would be very price competitive with low Class A. At this point, we're not cost competitive if they send it to our compact waste facility, as they are getting their export rates. Some of our contractual obligations and things to them, we could not negotiate that price. We intend to roll that out to them before the end of August 31st, 2015. So we're not opposed to this as we try to work through a commercial solution there. Basically, this waste coming to our commercial facility would not be economical for either of us to do, and so that's why we're supportive of it being exported at this particular moment in time. It could be sent to our exempt facility, and it would be economical. Obviously, the compact fees are not there. Some of the fees from our exempt facility do go to the county through the CP process. But that's why we're supportive of the export.
Any other questions or comments? Then we will entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we approve the export petition from Bionomics on behalf of Peloton Therapeutics located in Dallas, Texas. The material description is dry active waste from research operations. The amount is approximately 200 pounds. The effective period is 1 year. So in this case, I would make that December 1, 2014 through November 30, 2015.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we will call for a vote. All in favor of item 8A, the Bionomics on behalf of Peloton Therapeutics export application, please indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Any abstentions? Please note the chair is not voting, and item 8A passes. Now moving on to item 8B, another export application for Luminant Comanche Peak.
In this case, the technical committee received and reviewed an export permit application from Luminant Generation Company, LLC, and this is to export Class A radioactive waste for treatment and permanent disposal. Their application, again, indicates that it's, as Rod spoke to, it's not economical for them to send the material to the WCS disposal facility at this point in time. They've requested a effective period of the export permit from January 1, 2015 through August 30, 2015, so basically 8 months. They've asked for the ability to export both low dose rate, low density Class A DAW and low dose rate, high density Class A low level radioactive waste in an amount of 9,000 curies plus a contingency of 10% of 900, so a total of 9,900 cubic feet. And I would note that, again, WCS has written a letter in support of this export. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Ms. Haddon, did you have something?
Hi, Karen Haddon for Seed Coalition. This and the other export petitions being considered right now, it strikes me, especially from the Texas locations, that I thought originally that the whole purpose of having a compact waste facility in Texas was to take Texas waste and that of Vermont and other compact partners. And so it's kind of strange to see this waste going elsewhere after all of the concern about whether there's adequate capacity, after watching license amendments that triple the volume, supposedly because it was so urgent. It's just hard to see how this amount of waste really does need to go elsewhere. You know, the whole point of having this facility was not for WCS to make money. The whole point was to dispose of this waste, and I think the less distance it travels is probably better. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Haddon. Any other questions or comments? Yes.
Do we have, never mind. I know.
Pushing the button was
Never
more than
mind.
you wanted to do. Any other questions or comments? And I think we're ready for a motion.
I make a motion that we approve the application for export from Luminant Generation Company, LLC, Comanche Peak Nuclear Power Plant. The period of that export permit would be from January 1, 2015 through August 30, 2015 for Class A low dose rate DAW and high density, and Class A low dose rate, high density, low level radioactive waste, and the amount would be 9,900 cubic feet.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any further discussions or questions?
At some point, I just, for my edification and knowledge, just probably like to have a discussion with what it is that's not economical about these types of things. So I've got it written down, but, hopefully I can make some time to figure that out.
You may regret asking that question.
I'm sure I will.
But I do think that between those of us on the commission and Representative WCS, I think that's a very fair question, and I'm sure it can be answered in detail. So, any other discussion or questions? Then we will call for a vote on item 8B, the Luminant Comanche Peak exportation petition. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Any abstentions? Please note the chair is not voting, and item 8B passes. Item 8C, the export application of South Texas Project Electric.
The technical committee received and reviewed an export permit application from South Texas Nuclear Operating Company. In this case, the petition is requesting the ability to dispose of Class A low dose rate and low density and low dose rate high density Class A materials for an 8-month period from January 1, 2015 through August 31, 2015. The materials are anticipated to go for ultimate disposal at the Energy Solutions facility in Clive, Utah. They've requested a total amount of 20,592 cubic feet for potential export. I recommend approval. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from the public or the commission? Hearing none, we will entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we approve the export petition from South Texas Project Nuclear Operating Company for export of materials for a period of January 1, 2015 through August 31, 2015. The total volume is 20,592 cubic feet, and the materials for export are low dose rate, low density DAW and low dose rate, high density Class A materials.
Is there a second?
Second.
Having a motion and a second, is there any further discussion?
I have a question. And my question refers to a reference in the South Texas Project letter to us. And same question, the same reference was in the Comanche Peak. I chose not to ask it of Comanche Peak, but my friend Kelly Brown is here, so I'm going to ask him. The statement is made that disposal occurs pursuant to an existing long-term disposal agreement. And my question is about the duration of the agreement. I assume long-term means it originated some long time in the past, but I don't know if it's an annual agreement or a perpetual agreement subject to changing disposal conditions or what it is. And so I'm just asking for information here. Kelly?
Good morning. I am Kelly Brown. I'm the lawyer for South Texas Nuclear Plant. As usual, Bob stumps the band here. I'm not prepared. Bob, I don't really know the answer to that question.
Okay.
To the extent it's important, I sure can get it, but I'm not prepared today to answer it.
I was just curious about it because I didn't know whether these agreements renewed year to year, or I would suspect that they do, or for some period of time, subject to changing rates and other things. And so I just didn't know if eventually we were going to tie it to a specific term or what we were going to do, and that's the reason for my inquiry.
Yeah, I'm sorry, just can't answer the question.
All right, that's fine. And I'm sure our friends at WCS may not know, but they might want to know the answer also. But I have no idea, but I'm just curious. Thank you.
Any other discussion or questions? And we will call for a vote on item 8C, the South Texas Project Electric application for exportation. All in favor indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Any abstentions? Please note the chair is not voting, and item 8C is passed. Item 8D, Vermont Yankees export application.
The technical committee received and has reviewed a petition from Vermont Yankee Nuclear Power Station for export of materials. In this case, they've requested an export period of January 1, 2015 through August 31, 2015, similar to the two Texas utilities. They're requesting the ability to export low dose rate, low density Class A DAW and low dose rate, high density Class A materials. And in this case, they've requested a total volume of 11,753 cubic feet. And similar to the Texas utilities, they've indicated it's not economical to dispose of the materials at the compact waste facility. I would also note that WCS has written a letter supporting that export. And we recommend approval, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for John? Hearing none, we will entertain a motion now.
I make a motion that we approve the export petition from Vermont Yankee Nuclear Power Station with an effective period of January 1, 2015 through August 31, 2015. That material would be low dose rate, low density Class A DAW, and low dose rate, high density Class A materials, and the total volume would be 11,753 cubic feet.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion on item 8D? We will then call for a vote. All in favor of item 8D, the Vermont Yankee export petition, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Any abstentions? Please note the chair is not voting, and item 8D passes. And with that ends Vice Chairman Salzman's marathon. We will now move on to item 9, which is a report from WCS. Mr. Balzer.
Thank you, Rod Balzer, WCS. Our site report, we disposed of 6,000 feet, 17,590 curies as decade of imported waste through October 31st for the first 2 months of the fiscal year. In compact waste was 1,100 feet and 460 curies. There's been some talk about capacity, and I know Commissioner Weber is new to the commission, so just as a brief reminder, we did get a license amendment this year, so we're now at 9 million cubic feet for volume. We have 3.9 million curies and capability to expand that in our license as well. We actually modeled it for 100 million curies. So life to date at our facility, we've taken less than 50,000 feet of imported waste, less than 1% of our volume, and a little bit less than 185,000 curies, which is less than 5% of our curies. and we have plenty of capacity. I expect to have plenty of capacity for Vermont's decommissioning whenever that happens. Are well aware of the concerns of Vermont and our responsibilities to Vermont as part of the Texas-Vermont Compact. I also wanted to talk a little bit about timing and fiscal year ends and things that have come up at the Compact Commission today. We do try to make it easy on our customers. We don't want them to think this is a kind of pain in the butt to go through. And so when we can make it easier and fill out one form for multiple years and things like that, that is what you're seeing. Some of them do have different fiscal years, whether that's a government entity at 9/30 or a commercial entity at 12/31. Most of them don't have August 31st. Texas is fairly unique with that. Others are shipping campaigns, outages, contractual purposes, things. But our customers really want stability so that they know that if they're going to sign up with WCS and we're going to be their disposal provider, that they've got a place to take that throughout the campaign. So I did understand from Commissioner Salzman that maybe we could submit things for multiple years and do that well in advance. So there's that stability out there, and it probably helps with record keeping. And so that's something we probably need to work with the Commission and particularly Ms. Ng on. That is the end of my report.
Any questions for Rod? Thank you very much.
Thanks.
The next item is item 10, the chairman's report. Obviously, I don't know what I'm talking about, so I'm going to let Commissioner Wilson report on some of the activities he's been a part of.
Well, when Chairman Hurley asked me to do this, I reported to him that I had laryngitis, and so it was probably going to be a very short report. And it probably is a very short report for a number of other reasons, too. I have a lot I could say about since our last meeting. But I'm going to talk about a few things, and maybe Lee will cover these anyway. One was the legislative appropriation request, and the reason I'm particularly pointing that out is we had a hearing, and at the hearing before the Legislative Budget Board, we were asked to submit additional items as emergency items for the appropriation, and I didn't know how that would come, but I'm just pointing that out for the Commission, because the effect of that meeting was that in order to submit our budget to the Legislative Budget Board, they only accepted about half of our budgeted amounts because the software wouldn't accept any more. And it's one of those complex situations. But we need to, and I'm doing this partially for the new chairman, to give him a hint of what he's going to get in for, because we have to, that's one of those big items we have to fix. I also want to talk about the vote that we did in the past to put out hire a fiscal person to help us. That's been, the urgency of that has been increased. And again, Lee may mention this, but on October the 9th, we got a letter from the Board of Nursing telling us that the agreement that we've had with them for them to process our request for reimbursements and our access to the appropriation is going to end next August 31st. So we have to figure out how we're going to take care of doing that without the support we've had from the Board of Nursing. And that's another one of those items is very important to us, because unless we can access the money that's been appropriated, it doesn't matter how much is there, because we can't access it. So we do have also to still probably working on our response to the audit for the corrective action things. I just don't know where that stands. And so I'm asking for that. Several of us, Judge Dolgener, Lee, John Salzman, and I, attended a low-level radioactive waste forum meeting a couple of weeks ago in Denver. And as usual, it was really interesting to hear the statements not only from other compacts in other states and regulators, but also from the Nuclear Regulatory Commission and the Department of Energy and EPA, because I continue to see the same trends going on, which are that the whole waste classification system is changing. And that's important to me, as used to be more important as chairman, because what I saw was the compact is set up with specific language that talks about low-level radioactive waste having a certain definition. And if low-level radioactive waste definition changes, the compact definition does not change. Nobody has suggested anything, and I pointed this out at the meeting, none of the license amendments for WCS and none of the things that are proposed by the Nuclear Regulatory Commission change the language of our compact, which is incorporated into our law, Vermont's law, and in fact into federal law. So all of those changes are going to impact the future responses of what the Compact Commission has to do. Now, on a much brighter note, one of the things we have to do, because we're treated like a state agency, even though we're not, and it's really a good thing from my perspective, and I've sent a little email message about this to the chairman, new chairman, is that, I'm sorry, he is chairman, he's not a new chairman, he is chairman, is having to do with our records retention schedule. Audrey, thank you. We had our updated schedule approved by the Texas Facilities Commission, essentially, which we have to, actually it's the archives, which we have to comply with certain requirements, and so now I think it's good for 2 or 3 years, if I recall. And so what that means is, though, that we need to get our records organized to comply with it and start doing that. And again, that's a function of needing some more people. And that was my worry, because what I see coming up in the session, particularly with the reduction in the appropriation request, is we're going to have some way to fit our operations and requirements into the money that we're going to have available, whatever that is. And I'm not sure what that's going to be at this point. I just know what the LAR request is, and I'll let Lee talk about this. But if you really wanted to know from a chairman's perspective what I worried about, that's probably where I spent most of my time worrying about. Because the operations, the day-to-day operations of this commission are necessary in order, or we just don't have to worry about the big issues, because we won't be able to be here operating to address them. So that's really, so for that cheery note, I'll just quit and say that's the end of my last chairman's report. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Again, I want to reiterate, obviously, all of us in this room probably feel the same way, that we probably would not be here today without the service of Bob Wilson. And so before we leave, I want to again say that he is a glue that we continue to need, but his past service is so appreciated. And I know that in discussions I had with the governor's office, they echoed the exact same sentiment. So I think the thumbs up are universal. So that says quite a bit about Bob. We'll move on to item 11, report from Ms. Ng.
Okie dokie. I'll go ahead and start with some remarks about the legislative appropriation request that was brought up. The issue that we have in front of us is that there is sort of a competing statutes out there, and we fall in the middle of them. We have our compact statute that's also in Texas law, that's been passed by the Texas legislature, that acknowledges us as an independent entity. But then there is also an appropriation law out there that tells other state agencies who appropriate with us and work with us to ensure appropriation that they treat us like a state agency. So we have one statute that says we should be treated like a state agency, and then we have another statute that says we absolutely are not a state agency. And that has, as you can imagine, created some issues. You've heard about some of this before. And so what we are, and the legislative appropriation request is merely one item that we have that falls in sort of this abyss, I'll call it, for lack of a better word. There are also issues about hiring people and records retention, auditing, et cetera, that also fall into this abyss where they'll hold us to a Texas state agency requirement from the comptroller's office when we're audited, yet we're not a state agency, and some of them we physically cannot comply with. So there's been a general, the good news in all of this, and I appreciate Chairman Wilson's assistance in this because he's come to a number of these meetings with me, as has Jim Krausen, is we've gone and talked to the Texas Senate. We've talked to folks over in the Texas House. We've talked to the governor's office, and the issue is not that folks don't want to help us. It's educating them on the uniqueness of a low-level waste compact. And there is general agreement amongst leadership in the state of Texas that there should potentially be a statute written within Texas or something done, a right or something that would recognize, that would sort of reconcile, if you will, this statutory inconsistency that we have, so that if we need to work with the state of Texas comptroller, instead of only having a Texas state law for state agencies that they can go to, they have something unique to us that they can use that would support legally a decision that they would make to work with us. And so we are in the process of educating and working with these folks to see what we can do this legislative session through the appropriations process and other aspects of the legislative process to see if we can begin to fix this issue. We're only able to really get started in earnest now because, as many of you know, we just had elections. So we are now beginning to understand who some of the players will be, and we'll be ratcheting up some of our efforts to talk with and educate others in the Texas government leadership. Our message, speaking for the entire commission, has always been we are here to work with the state of Texas, we are here to work with the state of Vermont, and with the compact with the Nuclear Regulatory Commission and any other federal agency to ensure whatever we do is representative of a win-win for everyone. And toward that end, I will say, I've said it before, I'll say again, we're happy to go to the state of Vermont and talk to the leadership there and see whatever we may need to do as we move this forward. When I have meetings in Texas, as I have had with Mr. Krausen and with Chairman Wilson, we always mention to them that any solution that we would come up with working with the state of Texas legislature must also be suitable and agreeable by the leadership in the state of Vermont. And everybody has acknowledged that, and ensuring that we have a process that makes that happen is what we're going to do. So there are my remarks for the legislative appropriation request issue and how it's really embedded in a bigger issue of how we're statutorily treated in Texas and potentially in Vermont as we advance these discussions. Are there any questions about that before I move to my next item? Okay. Also, I will mention toward this end, to help us with this, we are looking to hire a fiscal person. As many of you know, my strengths are sort of the regulatory programmatic strengths, and what's the difference between a curie and hazardous waste? It is not the finer nuances of an appropriation request. I am always very proud of myself when I fill out the right blanks of the budget. And so we are looking to hire somebody. We've selected somebody, and we have Mr. Krausen, who is working diligently on getting that contract finalized so that we can put that in place. Also, to address some of the things that Chairman Wilson said, we are working to hire somebody, and we have somebody selected, also working with Jim Krausen on that contract to hire somebody to help us with our operations manual. And part of that, the original reason for doing this is so that if something happened to Audrey and I, that there would be a manual. Right now, if something happens to Audrey and I, we flee the country and go to Mexico and have a good time. There would be nobody, not that we would ever do that, there would not be, the wheels would kind of fall off. How we do things and what we do is sort of only known by us, and that's obviously not the right way to operate. We need something in place so that the wheels will stay on and somebody can pick up a manual and ensure the next meeting happens flawlessly, even if both of us aren't around. So that's the original reason for putting together an operations operations manual, is so that would be available. But as part of that process, we also asked that this contractor look at anything else that we need to do that we just haven't thought of that other institutions do, and that would include maybe a more well-honed records retention schedule, and other things that, as we've gotten started and learned, they know, but we don't. So the contract to make that happen is also being worked on by Mr. Cross, and we expect to have that person hired soon, and they expect to be able to have us a product within 2 to 3 months, and I'll keep you updated on that. So that's another thing that we're working on. The other thing that I'll say is I always appreciate any kind of input we get on our website, whether it's on a computer or on a mobile site. We will be reaching out specifically to Ms. Haddon to understand what the issues are, because I think, and I know that all of my commissioners feel this way, our transparency in making what we do as easy as possible for others to read is important. So I'll be reaching out to Ms. Haddon to ensure that we get that taken care of. And then the final and maybe most important thing is we are having a reception after this to welcome all the changes, I guess I'll say. When we tried to make it about telling Chairman Wilson how much we appreciate him, he's like, no, you can't make it about that. Make it about welcoming the new commissioner. And then when I talked to them, they're like, no, we need to thank the Chairman Wilson for everything he's done. So I couldn't get agreement on what this reception was about. So it's about welcoming and thanking everyone. And it will be in room E2.1002 of the Capitol, E2.1002. It will start at about noon. We originally wanted it to be right after this meeting, but this meeting has gone a little quicker than we thought, and we aren't allowed access in right away. So we were going to try and start it at noon, so everybody go take a break. And we hope that everybody can come. I think it's a neat opportunity for people to get to network and talk to folks and share ideas and thank folks. So everybody is invited to come and join us. And that concludes my remarks.
Thank you, Ms. Ng. The last item on the agenda, item number 12, is about future meeting dates. The next two meetings are December 17th and then January 22nd. Those will both be here in Austin, probably still with a place to be determined depending on what the availability is here at the Capitol based on session starting. After that, we have dates throughout the remainder of the year of March 5th, April 16th, May 28th, July 9th, August 20th, August 1st, and November 12th. But those are all in places to be determined. One of the things that we will be thinking about is we may want to have another road show in a metropolitan area like Houston or Dallas again. And of course, we may also want to go back to Andrews and have a meeting there, since we have not done that in a couple of years. So those are possibilities in the future. Obviously, we want to be as transparent as possible about where we will be meeting and when we will be meeting. So if there's ever any questions, we encourage you to contact Lee or Audrey about that. So they will always have the most up-to-date information. So, and of course, one of those meetings, I guess, whenever we can determine when the leaves change, will also be in Vermont. So, and I believe that is all we need to discuss on that. So, final item is adjournment. Any motion for adjournment?
Could I just,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Just to say from a Vermont perspective, on the record, that we so value former Chairman Wilson's place in this. You've made us, you've educated me. I know when I came on, I had question after question after question, and he was always so available and so patient with some of the questions that I had, and so informative. Your graciousness, your intellect, your ability to welcome the public input and take it seriously is greatly valued. I just want to thank you for your service, and also ask that during the meetings, when you speak and you speak from your perspective, it's always the chairman's perspective, or you'll say something. it's very thought-provoking and very informative. Please do not stop that. You have been so valuable to all of us, and I think I want you to talk more than I do, which is great.
Boy, that's a
thank you.
challenge. If I ever Thank you very much. From my perspective, and I'll just say this publicly, this is a really great group, and they work so well together. And Brandon called me when he got the proposition, I guess is the right way to do this, and I said, it's going to be fine because the group just works so well together. And my only question was, does anybody really think that they would rather have me sitting as a commissioner asking questions than as a chairman trying to form a consensus? And I'm not sure that the history on that is out there yet, so we'll find out. I do have history of being just on the commission, and I had a different role at that time, but of course things were a lot different. But it has been a privilege to be your chairman, and I really appreciate that. And thank you for your well wishes and your comments. And Brandon, congratulations. You're doing a great job. I never finished a meeting by 11:30.
Well, Jane's comments should be echoed 1,000 times because, as I said earlier, the one stipulation I had when the governor's office called was I will do this only if Chairman Wilson's in favor of it and if he'll stay on, because I think his continued involvement in this commission is more than vital. And I completely agree with Jane. I think his comments are always insightful, and he will still be a leader on this commission whether he's a chairman or not. And I think the change in the chairman's role was more a matter of terms from the governor's perspective than it was anything else. So the governor, I get all the press releases from the governor, and it's very rare that you see a press release that praises an outgoing chairman the way the press release did announcing Chairman Wilson stepping down. So I think that speaks volumes as well. So I want to again reiterate what a great level of appreciation we have for him, and he will, trust me, he will hopefully sit to my left and pass me as many notes as possible as we move forward. So, and we hope you can all join us at noon. So with that, I believe we are adjourned.